I argue that this notion of so-called separation of church and state, at least in the American context, is very much a historical and legal misnomer, because it has had both the legal and the cultural effect of telling people of faith, which in America, yes, means Jews, but really above all means Christians, of telling them that you cannot bring your faith, your morality, your deducing of logic and public policy and law from scriptural biblical precepts. We're told that religious Jews and Christians here in the U.S. are not allowed to bring any of that into the public square, and it's just totally, completely ludicrous. And I think large swaths of elites throughout the West, certainly in the United States, have really kind of imbibed the notion that what made the United States great, what made Western civilization great, is not to actually stand for truth, not actually stand for core convictions, but to really not necessarily stand for everything at all. For anything at all, to really stand for this notion of live and let live, let the chips fall where they may. We kind of pride ourselves on our relativism, on our being so thoroughly and passionately agnostic between competing claims. This is what I would argue has led to the rise partially of things like transgenderism, like this debate as to whether or not a biological male can become a female simply because he thinks it is such and so forth. There, who are we to say? Who are we to say that something is true or something is false? Whatever, let the chips fall where they may. So this is all part of the issue there. But again, what I argue, and what I think a lot of great conservatives have argued there, I'm hardly the first to make this point, is that what made Western civilization great is not moral agnosticism. It is not relativism as to competing claims of truths and falsities. Rather, what has made Western civilization great is that we are unafraid to proclaim what the truth actually is. And above all, we are able to deduce those truths from the Bible. So throughout the earlier chapters of the book in particular, before I get into contemporary foreign policy and the state of Israel and Zionism and things like that, a lot of the earlier chapters, John, of the book, Israel and Civilization, are really dedicated to just explicating how so many of not just the laws, but also just the day-to-day background, implicit morals that make society function, essentially, how much that is really derived from the Hebrew Bible. And there's so many examples here. I guess I would just offer just one, which is this notion of the golden rule, which I was taught back when I was in kindergarten, that you shall do to others, you shall treat others as you would like to be treated. Now, I went to public school here. I live in Florida. I went to public school in New York State, where I grew up. I was not told that had a religious valence or anything. As it turns out, it really is actually directly derived from Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, the injunction that you shall treat the stranger as your own fellow. That's basically the biblical antecedent of the golden rule. So part of my book is really just trying to remind people of the things that we have so long just taken for granted, because only then by appreciating those things and holding on to those things, holding on to these biblical truths, holding on to all the amazing things that both Judaism and Christianity have done for Western civilization, only then can we once again be great.